Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast where we look at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chouinard. I'm here with Glen Willis and Tyler Jones on a Sunday night after the Hawks did a dramatic reversal in the last 5 minutes of a game versus the Nets. Glenn, what did you think of what you saw for this matinee game?
Well, I mean, the defensive performance was rough until the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter or whatever, and that was, I mean, really Dyson just kind of took over defensively, and just decided they were going to let them do anything. But up until that, like the first half, the Nets were getting middle on like every possession, and those last 5 minutes, they were keeping them out of the middle, and that's why they got worse shots or shot quality was down. So they figured it out, I guess, like halfway to go through the fourth quarter, how to stop letting the ball get middle. And when you let the ball get middle, man, it just collapses your defense. Multiple players come in and try to, bring some help into the paint, and you leave open shooters on the three-point line. And, Brooklyn's one of the worst shooting teams in the league, but they had, up until the last 5 minutes, probably their best shooting game of the season, if I had to guess. But yeah, the defense was just disorganized and sloppy, And is that an early start? I don't know. There really is no excuse for it. But thankfully, they figured it out before it got too late, and because they were on a trajectory for a really embarrassing loss until the last 5 minutes. So that was it was so that aspect was just very disappointing today.
Sometimes the defense doesn't collapse when you allow
Yep.
middle. Sometimes the defense just watches.
That too.
Tyler, what'd you think of this game?
Kind of echo Glenn's sentiment. Like, really, honestly, it was just Dyson Daniels. Just decided the Hawks weren't losing tonight, combined with Jalen Johnson, uh, recognizing he was the biggest player on the floor and just stopped settling for floaters and mid rangers and just like, including taking a charge. But like, even with that, like, I felt like when he took that charge, he understood he can get to the front of the rim every possession. And that's what he did on the offensive end. That made life easier for everybody else. Then defensively, they all picked it up once Dyson was like, enough of this nonsense. Like, what? Why are we even? Why is this game close? They don't have really any shot creators. They only have one real threat on the perimeter. And if Darren Sharp's in the game, we don't have to worry about their bigs too much making, extracurricular passes. I don't know why Darren Sharp doesn't play more. I don't know why Darren Sharp doesn't make more money, but that's something him and his agent got to figure out. But like, uh, he was a terror all game. But when he was out the game, like the Hawks had the physical advantage for the most part, and they were able to eke out a win, even though they won by 11 points. But like, it shouldn't have gotten that close. But that's kind of the state of this Hawks team. Like, yeah, I said this on Blue Sky and Twitter after the Heat game, and it was true tonight as well. It's just like it's not a very deep basketball team. Like, if Jalen Okongwu and Dyson aren't in the game, it's just tough. Like, it's just the reality of the situation. It's just tough on both ends of the floor. If Jalen's not in the game, offense struggles. If Dyson and Okongwu in particular aren't in the game right now, the defense will struggle unless it's Dyson and Mo. If it's just Dyson and like Landell and Jalen, it's dicey, but at least offensively you're better. It's just tough. Like, Quinn. I on some hands, like, I give Quinn the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't have many options. Like, he can only do so much here. I thought going with Gabe Vincent was a good pivot because they needed more ball handling. I just I don't understand why he went back to Kispert though in the second quarters of these games. But like, that's fine. But like, overall, like, hopefully they this Hawks team can stabilize because they got the Wizards next, and if they're not if they don't bring it, the Wizards will beat them again. They've lost to them before, so we'll see how they perform then.
Yeah, I was glad to also see Mo Gay stay in the rotation. I wasn't quite sure what it was going to look like once Zaccharie got moved to the bench. I didn't know if they were going to try to make him like a backup power forward or something. Not that he can't do that, but I just, with the rest of the players that are in that bench unit, you really need to have a strong defensive power forward in there next to Landale and Kispert, et cetera, McCollum. Like you gotta make sure that you've got an interior defender to go with your, hopefully at least one perimeter defender just to have any shot of doing it. So I was glad to see that Mo hasn't got bumped from the rotation yet. We remains to be seen what happens in a week or so if they get Jonathan Kuminga back. Like when they get Kuminga back, like what are you expecting in terms of how the rotation shapes up, assuming that everybody remains healthy through that point, Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when they announce he's going to play, whatever game that ends up being, I don't know what game it'll be. It's going to be interesting to see when the starting lineup is announced. Is CJ still back in there like he was today, or is Kuminga starting? I mean, Kuminga's a better basketball player than Zaccharie Risacher right now. But there's also an investment you want to maintain with Zach too, that you have confidence in him to continue to grow and develop. And we talk about all the time there's trade-off decisions that coaches have to make and the organizations have to make around how they're going to navigate something like this. But if he's able to play, since there's a team options for next year, they need to let him play and see how he fits the scheme, how he fits the system, how he fits the culture, all those things. Those are very important things to work through the rest of the season. And like we said, I think on the last podcast that, um, Jalen's the best athlete on this team, but Kuminga is probably like 5%, just 5% behind him, or maybe the same. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but um, but it's gonna be fascinating to see, does Quinn go 10 deep? Does he go 9 deep? Does Mo not play? Is it completely contextual, but depending upon whether the other team is playing a small lineup or a big line, those are the things that'll have to be navigated, and all we can really do is just kind of wait and see what Quinn decides to do.
What do you think, Tyler? Do you think Kuminga fits in to a bench lineup? Like whose minutes he's obviously going to be playing and taking somebody's, at least some of their minutes. Like where do these Kuminga minutes come from?
Probably from both Kispert and Risacher, for honest. Most likely, maybe a little bit of Mo as well. Like I think Kuminga is going to play and play a lot. It's hard to watch this team just complete inability to consistently put smaller defenders into the front of the rim and think that Kuminga isn't going to start. Combined with like the Nets were just attacking CJ McCollum as a low man the entirety of the game until the Hawks finally, Dyson Daniels was just like, enough of this nonsense. Like, I'm just not going to allow you guys to dribble. I know you're trying to get CJ McCollum as a low man. Doesn't matter. I'm snatching every ball you guys throw. I'm snatching every pass. I'm poking the ball handler out of every single one of these weak ball handlers. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, until that happened, the Hawks were going to lose the game because CJ McCollum, as a low man, was an abject disaster. Like, he was consistently getting put in front of big men who were just going right around him or through him or above him. And there was nothing the Hawks could really do until they just stopped allowing that entry pass to take place. So I would suspect that Kuminga starts, and then the not, and like I think it'd be good for all parties involved because, like, I mean, the reality is that Ricochet needs better passes to get the most out of his offensive flow, and the guards on this team just aren't very good passers. Like that's kind of the reality outside of Dyson Daniels, but Dyson and Zach, until Zach becomes a better 3-point shooter, it's kind of tough for those two to kind of mind meld there. Like you saw it tonight with CJ and Nikhil when they were both in the game at the same time. Like, I mean, it's not just that they make bad decisions with the ball in their hands. They make inaccurate passes as well, and it causes Zach to have to process the game in a different way that he's not mentally ready to do because he's not strong enough to take advantage of certain aspects of the game of basketball consistently. However, I will say you did see Zach getting a better flow when he was out there with Gabe. I thought that was a good adjustment, and I will continue to do that. But if you're asking me like where's Kaminga's going to get his minutes, he's going to get plenty of minutes. Like I love Zach. I think he's going to be good. But if this point is to trying to win games here, he's probably below the pecking order right now. Not to say that again, like until they get a real point guard, it's going to be hard for him to really get into any type of offensive rhythm. Like this is just a different offense, it's a different scheme that requires different skill sets. And right now, what he provides to the team isn't as valuable as what Kaminga could provide. So that's what I think. I really hope that Mo is still in this rotation. I think there's plenty of minutes for Zach overall, and but I don't think there's any minutes for Kispert. But you do hope that Quinn doesn't just be like uh he doesn't sub all of Mo's minutes for Kaminga because defensively I think that's going to be a massive problem. I just especially if Landale's the center. Like if you want to try that, maybe go with Koloko, but Landale and Kaminga as your front court options, it's just a recipe to get destroyed, and I don't think that's sustainable. That's why I'm like start Kaminga, have Risacher and Mo come off the bench, and that be your bench rotation for those forward minutes, and work off of that from there. But completely kill these Kispert minutes because they they cannot get stopped from Kispert in the game. Like it is a tough watch when he's in the game right now, and I cannot stand it.
What was the struggle for Jalen tonight? Like obviously the last 5 minutes, he did what he needed to get his shots at the rim. But prior to that, he couldn't really get to the free throw line. You know, he wasn't shooting well. Like it felt like he was out of his flow until that final stretch. Like what was the struggle for Jalen tonight, Tyler?
It just felt like he was like playing. He needed to take like another power dribble, if that makes sense. Like it just felt like he would take the contact and then would just try to settle for a floater instead of like going through the contact to try to finish a layup. If like I don't really have any other way to explain it because it's not like he was being guarded by big like physical basketball defenders for the majority of the night. Like, but he was just settling far too often, not initiating contact. It did feel a little bit like he was scared to draw offensive fouls until like that one possession in the fast break where I remember I said this, like I screamed out loud. I was like, yo, just go through him. They of course they call the offensive foul on him because Jalen, unfortunately, apparently, I don't know what he has to do to get that in the rules where he's allowed to push off compared to like his contemporaries who are able to do it. Like there's some little grift. I don't know what's different between what he does and what Shea does, other than he's 20, 30 pounds heavier. But like he's got to figure that aspect of the game out. But like after that, he was like, all right, man, let me just attack these guys through their chest and play from there. That's what it looked like to me in the fourth quarter, where he was just going through them.
Yeah, I mean this it maybe is worth pointing out. It's not even an excuse here because I think it applies to both teams, but it is a weird schedule spot when you play 3 games in 4 days, and that fourth day you're playing as a matinee. Like that's a lot of basketball in a compressed time frame, even if you're coming off the All-Star break. But I'm fairly certain that it applied to the Nets as well. So it's not like anybody had any real advantage here, but
Yeah.
I do think that tends to make the product a little bit worse.
Well, I think the other variable today was CJ starting instead of Zach, right? It put another well, I don't know what to call him, ball dominant guy or a guy who wants to be on ball more. I mean, Zach doesn't really play on ball much. He plays, he's always like the fifth priority on offense. We talk about that all the time. And so I think schedule matter, but I also think just Jalen, if CJ's gonna keep starting, then they have to kind of figure out how to workload share and all those sorts of things. Because I mean, when they were down by like 11, 12, like CJ's the one that got them kind of back in range, and then Jalen closed it out, they basically single-handedly on offense. So like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see if when Kuminga's available, if he's starting and CJ's back on the bench, or what that looks like. It's gonna be interesting to see. But I mean, it's just Brooklyn is obviously a very young team, you know, and but they're they play hard. They played hard today. I mean, they really play with a lot of effort, you know. And they have a good coach. He's a good, smart coach that they have. I mean, I was impressed with. I know they've only won like 15 games this year. I don't have to look it up to see what the exact number or something like that. But they competed and they played hard, and I think they should, feel pretty good about where they are from a commitment to effort kind of standpoint, even though they're playing super young lineups, like really, really young lineups. But I was impressed with them today, despite their record.
The Hawks got thumped against the Heat the other day.
Yeah.
And just, I just wanted to credit the Heat here for a moment before transition back to the Hawks. Like, for the first half at least, and probably some into the third quarter before they got to the fourth, like for a lot of their pick and roll defense, they were switching the pick and roll, and then they would have sort of the guard front the roll man. And then they were really organized on their back line, right?
That was
Bring in
hard.
the help to make sure that that pass couldn't go over the top to the big, right? One of the reasons I want to highlight that is because right now the Hawks are a mess on their back line. Like when their defenders have to come down the perimeter, like it's just not a pretty sight right now. And that's one of the things that they're losing a little bit of with Zaccharie going to the bench. Like that's one of his strengths, even for a young player. Like he's really good at that. Like what do the Hawks have to do to get more organized in that area? Because that just felt like some of it against the Nets, I'm sorry, against the Heat, and then continuing again, especially against the Nets tonight. Like when the help is coming down that baseline, like it's not very effective. And what do they have to do to improve that?
Well, I mean, against the Heat, they were really disorganized on defense. I'm sitting there watching Corey Kispert try to defend Tyler Hero while Dyson's on the court, and like, why is this happening? Like on like five straight possessions. Like, what are we doing? What is this about? This is crazy. And so it just seemed like there was just a lot of disorganization. And in that game, they were getting Landell up to the level for the first. That was the first game they were really getting him up to
Right.
the level of the screen. Which and I don't know that's he's best suited for that, but I guess Quinn felt like that's something they needed to do. I don't know. Um, but I mean, a lot of that Heat, the loss versus the Heat was the Hawks just missed a lot of shots, and so when you miss shots, you get back in transition. You get matched up however you get matched up, especially if the Heat are number one in pace in the league, so they don't give you time to get back and get organized and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, the Heat are. I mean, Spo's obviously a tremendous, just tremendous coach, and his. It doesn't really even matter who's playing. They're a machine. They are like just a well-oiled machine, and they know exactly what they're doing. They have a ton of organizational continuity, and they don't bring in people who won't do the things that you ask them to do. You hear Heat culture all the time, but yeah, a lot of that was just poor shooting performance from the Hawks. Opened the door to the Heat, just kind of really pushing the pace and not letting it get back and get organized in transition defense, and that happened, but way too many times in the game.
Tyler, what do they have to do to clean up their back line of defense?
Um, I feel like it's a physicality issue as well. You saw it tonight when Nikhil was guarding Michael Porter Jr. Like he's not strong enough to kind of like when Nikhil's a low man, depending on who he's guarding, even though he's a great like post entry defender, like he is skinny, and so like it's just hard for him when he's there. When it's CJ McCollum, it's just you hope he gets the steal because if not, it's kind of over. Um, but
I
I,
think he did get one late in the what was the first game after the break? He kind of did that in
yeah,
the
he did. It was against they played a good team, the Sixers. Yeah,
Sixers,
yeah,
yeah.
Sixers. I mean, Sixers game, but like the Sixers, the difference between Sixers Heat and even the Nets here was that the Sixers uh really struggled with lineups outside of Tyrese Maxey. Like they really didn't have, and so it was easier to help off your mans to keep them, keep out of rotation. Whereas against the Heat were just out physically the Hawks from the jump. Like it was just reality. They were getting pushed off their spots on defense. That made everything a little bit harder for them. And it causes those defensive breakdowns. So like, ideally, if they want to clean up the back line, play Mo Gay more. That's a solution. Uh, Outside of that, it's kind of hard, particularly with Jock Landale and this organization's decision to only play two centers. When you see a lot of teams in today's NBA, they'll go with three centers. Like they'll go with their offensive center and they'll go with their defensive center, depending on the lineup the other team is playing. And Quinn is just not going to do that. That that is directly causing the Hawks to lose leads and lose games here. Like I do think somebody in the organization needs to point out that other teams, if they don't have a certified backup center, will go with that approach. We'll go with a more modern approach where like we're basing our matchups depending on what the other team does because we got to buy minutes for Congo. Like, because like I mean that's the reality. When a Congo's not in these games, the defense just collapses. Like Landale, for as good as he is offensively, his defense is a mess. He's slow. He's not a good vertical athlete. He's a good rebounder, so that's better than what the Hawks were getting pre, Koloko playing. But I I feel like it's a it's a bad decision to just be like, all right, no more Koloko. Like I don't I think that's a mistake to me. I'm not saying Koloko should be the primary backup center. I am saying he should be playing even like 2 to 3 minutes a night. It doesn't have to be much, but just to like patchwork some of these lineups together, to give a Congo a little bit more time to come back, but just to patch up some of these lineups defensively, because like it's tough. It's tough to watch right now. It's particularly when it's Landell and McCollum and Kispert. Like that's just not going to work.
Yeah, I like that idea that, that you can use a third center and react more to situations instead of getting stuck in one style
I
of
mean,
play.
I
Because
hate to
no
bring
matter
up
who
this
you
stuff.
play, there are going to be limitations, but
Yeah,
you're situationally identify, okay, this works here versus this works here. Like you're picking what's appropriate for the situation, which is, kind of what you have to do with backup centers because you're always going to leave something off the table, but you got to pick what works for what you're seeing on the other side of the floor.
yeah, and just overall too. Like I do wish Quinn fought a little harder to keep Mo on the floor, if for no other reason, keep Jalen Johnson fresh, right? Like because I don't like when Jalen is tired. The defense gets lazier, and he gives up stuff he shouldn't give up on the defensive end, and then offensively, he's not in that attack mode that you need. He found his second win in the fourth quarter here, but like we do see some of these games where he gets later in his rotation, he will get tired and it show up on the floor.
You have a knack for just blowing up my questions.
Yeah, sorry,
No,
Kevin.
because my next question was going to be, is Jalen Johnson playing a little bit too much? I'm sitting here. I had all the last few games. Like it was 3 and 4 nights. He played 37 and a half, 35 and a half, 38 in three consecutive games. Is that a reasonable workload?
Um, I mean, there's really not a perfect answer to that question. It's 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 more than what he ideally won around 34, 35 and kind of capping out there, I think. But there are times when, second unit stuff like it's Philly, like, if he wasn't on the floor, man, everything was a mess on offense. So, so they're just have to trust that he's taking care of his body. The training staff are helping him with recovery and stretching and all the normal stuff that these players do in between games and stuff like that. But I mean, he's gonna need to, you know, probably, he's had a little nicks and little minor injuries across the season, just like everybody does. So you hope that there are games where the next two games are both against the Wizards. Is that right?
Yes.
Right, right. So I mean. Could you not play him in one of those games? I mean, they need every. But
Oh
on the
no,
other hand, they need every win they can get right now to try to kind of push up in the standings. So it'd be interesting to see if I think what puts Quinn in a tough situation is this team is just does not play consistently enough, and they let bad teams push them in games where that really shouldn't happen. The Hawks were the better team on the floor today, but it didn't look like it for most of the game, and
but
so
it did. I want to counter this. It did look like that when they played their starters, and
sure.
that's been consistently true throughout the season, more or less. The problem is two front. The biggest one being the lack of depth and talent on the roster. He has to play Jalen these minutes because he has no other option. When they had Trey, and this is where it's like when they had Trey, if Trey Young would have been willing to both come off the bench and be a 20 to 25-minute role player, this would be a significantly better basketball team right now. Because you could bring Jalen's minutes down and you not lose that defensive integrity for the full 48 minutes of the game with Trey on the floor. But that was never going to happen in Atlanta. Trey's too young in his career to be in that type of role. Like that is completely fair on both parties. But that's the reality. When they made the decision to trade Trey, they took away the option of playing without Jalen Johnson because without Jalen, they just don't have a certified offensive engine. They just don't. That's something they're going to have to look for in the offseason. They got a lot of good players. Kaminga is going to help in some ways, but he's not going to help in that. Like Jalen is just too unique of a basketball player, and they don't really have anybody else who can fit that mold to take that pressure off of Jalen on offense. So it's going to be tough. Like it's just going to be tough. But to me, I'm like Quinn makes it a little tougher when he puts lineups out there that just aren't going to work or like plays guys he doesn't have to play. Like I really do think he doesn't have to play Kispert at all. Like I don't see a reason why Kispert gets any minutes. Like he's not helping the team right now. Like that, just to put it nicely. I think that his minutes would be better served with either Gabe Vincent playing more or Risacher playing more. But like just throwing Kispert out there and hoping he's going to turn into V. Krejci and Luke Kennard that's just not reality. Like Kispert's had plenty of opportunities throughout his career. He has never shown that level of offensive skill, and I do think hoping that he turns into Luke Kennard is not a solution. And so he just has to pivot and recognize you don't have Luke Kennard. You're going to have to ask for more defense from your guards and go on from there. But again, I do think Kaminga should help some, but like it's just the reality of this team. Like this team needs a Daron Sharp. Like, if we're being honest, this team needs a Daron Sharp. This team needs a Ayo Dosunmu off the bench. This team, like, they still need more if they want to get that consistency because currently they're entirely relying on is Risha Shamo making their threes. If they are, the offense is good enough. If they aren't, we got to get the starters back in the game, or I got to try Kispert out here and hope and pray because that's what Quinn's doing. And I'm like, I would rather him hope and pray with Mo and Risha on these second units to patch some stuff over and trust that the defense is going to be good enough to hold. Because I did think the Gabe Vincent, Mo Gay, Risha lineups were actually pretty solid
Mhm.
on both ends, and I do think that's a pathway that he could go forward with.
Yep.
Yeah, like that seems like a good trio to put around Landale who, can give you some offense. He can be a little bit of a focal point on offense. Like he can get those like, you know, for example, if you're playing a Vincent Rizache Mo Gay lineup, you're going to get some stops, and then Landale becomes a threat to get those early post seals, which is what he's
Right.
really good at.
Yep.
And so now you've got a team with some symbiotic relationships where what one group of players is doing can help another because when they're not getting stops, then Landale's you're losing one of his strengths because that's one of the things that he can really bring. Like he's not a particularly fast player, but if he gets down there and the defense isn't organized, he's really good in the post.
Yes.
I guess we're just about out of time here. We've got one word answer here. Is Trey going to make the trip to Atlanta?
I hope so.
Hope so.
Okay, we'll see. I just don't know if like he's rehabbing what, but we will see. And with that, I guess we say goodnight, Bob.
Go ahead, Bob.
Good night,
Thanks
Bob.
all.